First contact gone wrong. The stars twinkled indifferently as humanity's most advanced research station, the Helios Array, orbited silently around Jupiter's moon Europa. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, her dark eyes reflecting the distant sunlight as she reviewed the latest deep space scanning data. The year was 2157, and humanity had spread throughout the solar system, pride swelling in their technological achievements. No one expected the Centauri ships to emerge from what appeared to be tears in space itself. They came without warning. 5 massive vessels, each easily dwarfing the largest human space stations. Their hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating an unsettling void against the starfield. The station's sensors struggled to maintain a lock on them, as if the ships existed partially out of phase with normal spacetime. Multiple unknown contacts, bearing 347, announced the station's AI, its usual calm voice carrying an edge of uncertainty. No match with known signatures. Energy readings are unprecedented. Dr. Chen's fingers flew across the holographic interface, initiating first contact protocols. This is Research Station Helios Array to unidentified vessels. We welcome peaceful contact. And she never finished the transmission. The lead Centauri ship released a pulse of energy that disabled every electronic system on the station's outer ring. Emergency lights flickered as backup systems engaged, casting an eerie red glow across frightened faces. A voice filled every speaker, every personal device, every neural interface. It spoke perfect English, yet carried an otherworldly resonance that made human teeth ache. We are the Centauri conquerors. Your species has been observed and found wanting. Your technological development poses a future threat to galactic stability. You will be contained. Station Director Marcus Wong stood from his command chair, his weathered face set in determined lines. All personnel, initiate Protocol Omega. This is not a drill. His voice remained steady, even as the station shuddered under another energy pulse. Deep within the station's secure labs, Dr. James Rodriguez worked frantically to transmit their research data back to Earth. His hands trembled but moved with precision as he encrypted and compressed terabytes of crucial information. Come on, he muttered, watching the progress bar inch forward. The Centauri ships deployed smaller craft, sleek vessels that moved with impossible grace. They surrounded the station like wolves circling prey, methodically disabling defensive systems and communication arrays. But they had made a crucial mistake. In their arrogance, they had assumed humanity would break under their show of force. They expected panic, surrender, submission. Instead, they witnessed something that would become legendary throughout the galaxy: humanity's capacity to adapt and resist. Dr. Chen had already activated her experimental quantum entanglement communicator, a prototype deemed theoretically impossible by the Centauri's own scientific standards. Its signal couldn't be blocked because it didn't use conventional spacetime to transmit data. Earth would know. Earth would be ready. Director Wong's voice came through the emergency channels one last time. Remember your training. Remember who we are. They think they know humanity. Let's show them how wrong they are. The station's fusion core began to pulse with increasing intensity, not from damage, but by design. If the Centauri wanted to study human technology, they were about to get a very close look at one of humanity's most devastating innovations, the Capilla Protocol. Dr. Rodriguez finished his transmission and sealed the lab's blast doors. He touched the small photo of his daughter tucked into his tablet case. Your turn, Earth, he whispered. The Centauri ships drew closer, preparing to dock with the seemingly crippled station. Their sensors detected the power surge too late. The Helios Array's fusion core didn't simply explode. It imploded, creating a momentary rupture in space-time that turned the station and its immediate surroundings into a localized singularity. 2 of the smaller Centauri ships vanished instantly. A third spun away, crippled. The larger vessels retreated, their perfect formation broken, their certainty shaken. They had expected to find primitive beings barely worthy of containment. Instead, they had witnessed humans willingly sacrifice themselves not in desperation, but as part of a calculated strategy. The quantum entanglement signal had already reached Earth, carrying with it everything humanity needed to prepare for what was coming. As the surviving Centauri ships regrouped, a message floated through their communication channels, a final transmission from the Helios array, broadcast on all frequencies in the last microseconds before its transformation. You think you came to contain us. You failed. You think you came to study us. You will. You think you came to teach us our place. Instead, you're about to learn yours. Humanity says hello. The first blow had been struck. The Centauri had come to prevent what they saw as a future threat. In doing so, they had created exactly what they feared most, a humanity united against an external threat, driven not by fear, but by a cold, calculated determination to prove that they would not be contained. The game had begun, and humanity was playing to win. The silent response. 6 months after the Helios array incident, Earth had transformed. The planet's night side no longer sparkled with city lights. Instead, vast swaths remained dark, humanity's activities hidden beneath the surface or masked by sophisticated camouflage systems. General Maya Patel stood in the underground command center of the newly formed United Earth Defense Force, studying holographic displays of military preparations across the globe. Her expression remained neutral as she reviewed the latest updates, but her eyes held a fire that hadn't dimmed since the day she'd watched the quantum transmission from the Helios array. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying across the bustling command center. Colonel David Harper, her head of strategic operations, stepped forward. "Project Darkshield is at 89% completion. We've successfully adapted the Centauri energy pulse technology from the Helios data. Every major population center now has subsurface evacuation zones. The Mars colonies are fully dark, and the Luna base has been completely relocated inside the Copernicus crater." Patel nodded, her attention shifting to another display showing spacecraft production facilities hidden in asteroid belts. "And Project Phoenix. The first fleet is ready," Harper replied, pride evident in his voice. 20 ships, built with hybrid technology. They think we're centuries behind them, but Dr. Chen's quantum entanglement research gave us the key to their phase shift technology. We've already surpassed their expectations. In a secure facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Ying Zhou worked with her team on the centerpiece of humanity's response. The quantum computer before her processed combat simulations at speeds that would have seemed impossible just months ago. "Run it again," she ordered, watching as the AI predicted and countered thousands of possible Centauri attack strategies. The Centauri had expected humanity to waste resources building conventional defenses. Instead, humanity had gone silent, seemingly retreating. But beneath the surface, Earth's greatest minds had united in an unprecedented surge of innovation. In orbit, automated construction units worked tirelessly, building not weapons, but a network of quantum entanglement nodes, the foundation of humanity's new nervous system. The Centauri wouldn't be able to disrupt communications because humans had abandoned traditional methods entirely. Deep in the Mariana Trench, engineers tested the first prototype of the Leviathan-class submarine carrier, a vessel that could launch spacecraft from beneath Earth's oceans. The Centauri would be looking for space-based launch facilities. They wouldn't expect ships to emerge from the depths of Earth's oceans. General Patel received a priority alert. "Ma'am," Harper called out, "long-range sensors detect Centauri scout ships entering the Kuiper Belt." "Right on schedule," Patel remarked. The prediction algorithms had been exact. "Initiate Operation Silent Echo. Let's show them what they're really dealing with." Across the solar system, automated mining facilities continued their work, appearing to be nothing more than commercial operations. But they were manufacturing something the Centauri hadn't predicted: programmable matter. Humanity had taken the quantum principles behind Centauri phase shift technology and pushed them further. In a hidden facility in the Atacama Desert, Dr. Rodriguez's daughter, Captain Maria Rodriguez, led the training of Earth's first phase-shift combat units. The soldiers under her command learned to exist partially out of phase with normal spacetime, making them virtually impossible to detect or engage. "Your father's sacrifice gave us this advantage," she told her troops. "The Zentari think they're hunting primitive prey. They don't realize they're walking into a trap 6 months in the making." The scout ships moved closer, their sensors probing Earth's seemingly primitive defenses. They detected the expected panic-driven military buildup, the obvious surface fortifications. But their sophisticated sensors missed the quantum entanglement network, the phase-shifted facilities, the true extent of human preparation. In the command center, General Patel allowed herself a small smile. "Send the signal," she ordered. Across Earth, Mars, and the Moon, lights began going out. Cities went dark. Communication satellites fell silent. To the watching Zentari, it appeared as though humanity was experiencing a catastrophic infrastructure failure. "Now we wait," Patil announced to her staff. "Let them think we're vulnerable. Let them think their presence alone was enough to collapse our civilization. When they come in force, when they commit their fleet." She let the statement hang in the air. Colonel Harper finished her thought. "We'll show them why you never corner a species that turned itself from prey to apex predator in record time." In the depths of space, the Zentari scout ships recorded what they believed to be the beginning of humanity's collapse. Their reports would encourage the Concordat to launch a full invasion, exactly as humanity's quantum predictive models had forecast. They didn't realize that humans had spent centuries telling stories about alien invasions. They had imagined this scenario countless times, explored every possibility, prepared for this moment in their fiction long before it became reality. The Zentari thought they were following their own plan, but they were reading from humanity's script. The silent response was nearly complete. When the Zentari returned, they would find not the primitive civilization they expected, but something far more dangerous. A humanity that had taken their best technology, improved it, and prepared a welcome that would be remembered across the galaxy for generations to come. The trap was set. The bait was laid. Now came the hardest part, waiting for the enemy to spring the trap of their own accord. Operation Mindweaver. The Zentari invasion fleet arrived with all the subtlety of a supernova. 300 ships strong, they emerged from phase space in perfect geometric formation, a display of military precision meant to inspire terror. Their arrival darkened the sky over Earth's northern hemisphere, a manufactured eclipse that cast ominous shadows across the seemingly abandoned cities below. Admiral Kazar of the Zentari Concordat stood on his command deck, his crystalline skin refracting the light of distant stars. "Status of human defensive capabilities," he demanded. "Minimal, Admiral," his second responded. "Their primitive orbital platforms have been dark for weeks. Ground-based energy signatures suggest their power grid has collapsed. They appear to have expended their resources on surface fortifications, exactly as predicted." Kizar's crystalline features shifted in what passed for satisfaction among his kind. "Begin the first phase. Let us show them true power." The Zentari fleet launched their initial assault, a massive electromagnetic pulse designed to destroy what remained of Earth's technology. The pulse swept across the planet's surface in a wave of blue energy. Nothing happened. In her underground command center, General Patel watched the pulse wash harmlessly over their quantum-shielded facilities. "Initiate Operation Mindweaver," she ordered. "All units, execute as planned." Across the solar system, humanity's trap began to unfold. The seemingly abandoned mining facilities in the asteroid belt suddenly activated, revealing themselves to be massive quantum forge complexes. They began producing not ships or weapons, but something far more insidious: self-replicating nanoscale quantum computers. Dr. Zhao's voice came through the quantum network. "Phase 1 complete. The Zentari ship's sensors are detecting exactly what we want them to see. They still think their pulse knocked out our remaining technology." Captain Maria Rodriguez and her phase shift commandos were already in motion. their modified shuttles slipping through the Centauri fleet's formation undetected. Thanks to their phase shift technology, they appeared as nothing more than background radiation to the alien sensors. The Centauri launched their second wave, atmospheric insertion vessels carrying ground troops. They expected to find humans cowering in their primitive bunkers. Instead, they found empty cities that seemed to shift and change every time they looked away. Admiral Khazar received increasingly confused reports from his ground forces. "The humans, they're gone, sir. We're detecting life signs, but they don't match previous scans. The cities themselves seem to be moving." In the Atacama Command Center, Dr. Joe smiled as she monitored the quantum computer network's performance. The nanoscale computers had infiltrated the Centauri ship's sensor systems, subtly altering their readings. "Reality is what we tell them it is," she murmured. The true genius of Operation Mindweaver wasn't in direct confrontation. It was psychological warfare on a scale the Centauri had never encountered. Humanity had turned the aliens' own technology against them in the most fundamental way possible, by making them question their own perceptions. Phase-shifted commandos moved through Centauri ranks like ghosts, planting quantum-entangled devices that further distorted their sensor readings. The aliens began firing at shadows, jumping at echoes, their perfect formation gradually deteriorating as confusion spread through their ranks. General Patel watched the Centauri fleet's formation begin to break down. "They're starting to realize something's wrong," she noted. "Launched the Leviathans." From the depths of Earth's oceans, massive shapes began to rise. The Leviathan-class carriers breached the surface like mechanical whales, their hull designs incorporating both human and adapted Centauri technology. They launched swarms of fighters that the Centauri sensors registered as simple debris, until they opened fire. Admiral Khazar's crystalline form vibrated with growing anxiety. "Impossible," he declared as another sensor station reported conflicting data. "They were primitive. We saw their level of technology. We measured it." "No." Colonel Harper's voice came through on all Centauri frequencies. "You saw what we wanted you to see. You measured what we let you measure. And now you're thinking what we want you to think." The quantum computers had penetrated every level of Centauri technology. Their ship's artificial gravity began to fluctuate. Navigation systems showed different coordinates to different crew members. Communication between ships became unreliable as the quantum network inserted subtle changes into their transmissions. Captain Rodriguez's team reached their primary objective, the Centauri flagship's main engineering section. They planted their phase-shifted quantum devices and disappeared before anyone noticed their presence. The devices began their work, spreading through the ship's systems like a virus through a nervous system. "This is Earth Command to all Centauri forces." General Patel's voice resonated through every Centauri communication device. "You came to contain us. You came to subjugate us. Instead, you've become part of our experiment. How does it feel to be the ones contained, the ones studied, the ones who don't understand what's happening to them?" The Centauri fleet's perfect formation had completely dissolved. Ships fired at phantom targets, fled from non-existent threats, and received contradictory orders from seemingly multiple versions of their command structure. The mighty invasion force was being defeated not by superior firepower, but by their own technology turned against them through human ingenuity. Admiral Khazar watched his fleet dissolve into chaos, finally understanding the true nature of the species he had underestimated. Humanity hadn't just adapted Centauri technology. They had reimagined it, twisted it, turned it into something entirely new and terrifyingly effective. The first phase of Operation Mindweaver was complete. The Centauri fleet was in disarray, their confidence shattered, their technology compromised. But this was just the beginning. Humanity wasn't interested in simply defeating them. They intended to make this incident a lesson that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. The real demonstration of human ingenuity was about to begin. The breaking point. Admiral Khazar's flagship listed in space, its once pristine crystalline surface now clouded with uncertainty. Throughout the vessel, crew members moved with growing hesitation, no longer sure if what they saw was real or another human-engineered illusion. The mighty Zentari fleet had devolved into a collection of ships firing at shadows, running from phantoms, and slowly losing their grip on reality. Dr. Zhou's voice carried through the quantum network back on Earth. Their neural patterns are destabilizing. The quantum infiltration is affecting their crystalline biology in ways we hadn't anticipated. They're not just confused, they're beginning to fragment. General Patel studied the holographic display showing the scattered Zentari fleet. "Explain," she commanded, noting how the enemy ships moved in increasingly erratic patterns. "Their crystalline structures resonate with their technology," Dr. Zhou explained. "By corrupting their systems, we're inadvertently affecting their physical forms. Their entire society is built on perfect order, perfect symmetry. We're introducing chaos into their very beings." The Zentari had always prided themselves on their superiority, their perfect synchronization with their technology. Now that technology was turning against them in ways they couldn't comprehend. Ships that had operated in flawless harmony for centuries began experiencing cascading failures as their crystalline crews lost their connection to their systems. Captain Rodriguez's phase-shifted commandos reported from within various Zentari vessels. "They're breaking down," she transmitted. "Entire sections of their ships are being abandoned because the crews can't trust their own senses. Some are literally starting to crack, their crystalline forms showing fissures." In the command center, Colonel Harper received an unexpected transmission. "General, we're picking up something unusual. The Zentari are singing." Through the quantum network came an eerie harmonic resonance, the sound of thousands of crystalline beings vibrating in distress. It was their equivalent of screaming, a civilization-wide expression of terror as their perfect order crumbled around them. Admiral Khazar felt his own crystalline form beginning to fragment. "Stop," he transmitted on all frequencies. "Please, stop. We didn't know." General Patel's response was measured, calculated. "Didn't know what, Admiral? That you could think like this, that you could turn order into chaos, that you could make reality itself uncertain. We thought you were primitive because you weren't perfectly ordered like us. We didn't understand that your chaos, your adaptability, your very unpredictability made you something far more dangerous." The Leviathan carriers surfaced at strategic points around the globe, their presence now unhidden. They launched not weapons, but broadcasts, showing the Zentari their own ships dissolving into confusion, their own crews struggling to maintain their form, their own perfect society cracking under the weight of human ingenuity. Dr. Zhou's quantum computers had achieved something unprecedented. They had introduced the concept of doubt into a civilization built on absolute certainty. The Zentari weren't just losing a battle, they were losing their understanding of themselves. "Your species," Khazar continued, his transmission becoming increasingly distorted, "you embrace chaos. You thrive in it. You can create order from disorder and disorder from order. How do you live like this? How do you maintain coherence without perfect symmetry?" General Patel stood before the main display, her voice carrying to every Zentari ship. "That's humanity's great secret, Admiral. We never had perfect symmetry. We never needed it. Our strength comes from our ability to function in chaos, to adapt, to take what doesn't make sense, and make it work anyway." The breaking point had arrived, but not in the way either side had expected. The Zentari hadn't just been defeated militarily, they had been fundamentally changed. Their encounter with humanity had introduced imperfection into their perfect society, and there was no going back. Throughout the fleet, Zentari crews began surrendering, not out of fear of human weapons, but out of an inability to continue functioning in a reality that no longer matched their understanding of existence. Their ships, responsive to their crystalline crew's distress, began powering down. Colonel Harper watched the sensor readings with amazement. They're not just surrendering, they're transforming. The quantum interference has triggered some kind of evolutionary response in their crystalline structure. Dr. Zhao's analysis confirmed it. They're adapting, just like we do. We didn't just defeat them, we taught them how to change. Their rigid crystalline structures are becoming more flexible, more human. The victory humanity had achieved wasn't just military or technological. They had done something far more profound. They had introduced evolution into a static species. The Zentari would never be the same, and neither would the galaxy's understanding of humanity. As the last Zentari ships signaled their surrender, General Patil turned to her staff. Send word to all commands. Operation Mindweaver is complete, but our work is just beginning. Now we have to teach them how to live with uncertainty, just as we have always done. The stars watched silently as humanity prepared for their next challenge, helping their former enemies learn to embrace the chaos they had fought so hard to eliminate. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their strategy. It was their ability to turn enemies into students of their own remarkable adaptability. A lesson in humanity. 1 year after the Zentari surrender, the Great Hall of the newly established Earth Centauri Cooperation Center hummed with an unusual harmony. The crystalline forms of Zentari diplomats, now showing subtle variations in their once perfect structures, sat alongside human representatives. The hall itself represented a blend of both species architecture, clean geometric lines interrupted by purposefully organic shapes. Admiral Khazar, his crystalline form now bearing distinguished imperfections, stood before the assembled delegates. The fractures in his structure caught the light, creating rainbow patterns that would have been considered horrifying by his people a year ago. Now, they were marks of evolution, of growth. We came to contain humanity, he began, his voice carrying both humility and wonder. Instead, humanity contained us, not with walls or weapons, but with ideas. We thought their chaos was weakness. We didn't understand that chaos was their strength. Dr. Zhou sat in the audience, her quantum computers now serving as translators between the species. The machines didn't just convert words, they translated entire concepts across the vast gulf between crystalline and human consciousness. The greatest lesson, Khazar continued, wasn't in their victory, but in what came after. When we surrendered, expecting annihilation, they offered understanding. When we broke, they helped us rebuild, not as we were, but as we could be. General Patel, now serving as Earth's primary liaison to the Zentari, stepped forward. We learned from you as well, she acknowledged. Your technology, your precision, your understanding of order. These things have value. The key isn't to choose between order and chaos, but to understand how they complement each other. In orbital stations around Earth, human and Zentari scientists worked together, combining their knowledge in ways that pushed the boundaries of both species' understanding. The rigid perfection of Zentari technology merged with human adaptability and creativity, creating innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. Captain Rodriguez, leading a joint human-Zentari training program, had discovered that the Zentari's evolutionary changes went far beyond the physical. They're learning to improvise, she reported to the assembly. Yesterday, a Zentari cadet solved a problem by breaking protocol, and instead of shattering from the psychological stress, they adapted. They're learning to embrace uncertainty. The assembled delegates watched as holographic displays showed the progress of the past year. Zentari ships, once identical, now showed individual variations. Their crews, no longer bound by rigid hierarchies, had begun developing unique solutions to challenges. They were evolving, not just physically, but culturally. Dr. Zhao presented her latest findings. The quantum interference that we used as a weapon has become a bridge between our species. Their crystalline biology is learning to process information the way our brains do, through controlled chaos. They're developing their own form of creativity. But perhaps the most profound change was visible in the youngest Zentari. Those born after the conflict showed natural variations in their crystalline structures, embracing imperfection as a source of strength. They asked questions that would have been unthinkable a year ago, challenged assumptions that had stood for millennia. Admiral Khazar gestured to a group of these young Zentari. We came to prevent what we saw as a threat to galactic stability. Instead, we discovered that true stability doesn't come from rigid order, but from the ability to adapt, to change, to grow. Humanity didn't just defeat us, they freed us from our own limitations. General Patul rose to conclude the assembly. A year ago, we faced each other as enemies. Today, we face the galaxy as partners. The Zentari taught us that there is beauty in order, in precision, in perfect coordination. We taught them that there is strength in chaos, in adaptation, in embracing the unknown. As the assembly concluded, human and Zentari delegates mingled freely, their conversations a mixture of spoken words and crystalline harmonics. Outside, Earth's cities had been rebuilt, now incorporating Zentari architecture alongside human designs, not as separate elements, but as a genuine fusion of both cultures. The stars that had witnessed their conflict now watched their cooperation. Other species across the galaxy observed with growing interest as former enemies became partners, as rigid order learned to dance with creative chaos, as two fundamentally different forms of life discovered they could not just coexist, but thrive together. The lesson was clear. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or their technology or even their adaptability. It was in their ability to turn adversity into opportunity, enemies into allies, and conflict into growth. They had taken a species that came to contain them and instead helped that species break free of its own containers. As night fell over the Cooperation Center, the lights of human cities mingled with the crystalline glow of Zentari structures, creating patterns that were neither chaotic nor ordered, but something new entirely. It was a testament to the truth that both species had learned. The most powerful force in the universe isn't perfect order or pure chaos, but the wisdom to know when to embrace each. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly the point.